I'm Chris Yandeck. Today on CYInterview, we welcome Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino's Vice President of Public and Community Relations, Gordon Prouty. Gordon, it's always so great to talk with you, hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us today on CYInterview. How are you, sir? Gordon, can you hear me?
Chris, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Hang on, let me just move that forward. And also joining us today is CYInterview sponsor, the founder of Epic Financial Strategies, LLC, Mr. Rob Gill. Rob, thanks for joining us today on CYInterview. How are you?
Love to be here, Chris. Thank you, as always, for these opportunities. Gordon, so nice to meet you.
Oh, great to meet you, too.
So, Gordon, just to begin, why don't you tell us about your day-to-day job at the Westgate just to begin?
Gosh, I wish I could kind of describe a typical day. Every day is different. You know, there's so much going on here on property with, the entertainment offerings that we have that people are familiar with. Obviously, the Superbook being the world's largest race and sports book, the restaurants, the convention center, the location. And I kind of, in my role, I'm lucky enough to be able to work with all of those. And then plus the community affairs side and leading the efforts in the outreach with the nonprofit and civic communities. But, typically the day begins early start, kind of touching base with the executive team on the different operations that are going on during the day. If there's special groups in town, just kind of seeing what's on the agenda and then going from there. It's there's no day is typical, and I can honestly say coming up here on 5 years that no 2 days have been alike.
So just to really look at it overall and look at the scenario and situation, of course, the Westgate is formerly the Hilton International in Las Vegas Hilton. Of course, right. It was the home of Elvis Presley from 1969 to 1976. Today, it's the home of Barry Manilow. Just talk about a little bit about the history of the resort and how it's still become one of the most exciting places to go in Las Vegas today.
Sure. Thanks for that question. I love talking about that. In fact, when anyone asks about the history of the property, it's probably why I don't get invited to parties, because then I start going down this path of all the history. But, the timing is great because we're in July, and July really is the anniversary month for the property. July 2nd, 1969 was when the International opened. And that was the grand opening that Kirk Kerkorian put together was, just one of the most star-studded affairs. Barbra Streisand actually opened the showroom that night. I believe when you look at history, Cary Grant introduced her. Kirk was head of MGM Studios, so, he made sure the biggest and brightest stars were here. And then it was just a few short weeks later, July 31st, that Elvis performed his first 636 consecutive sold-out shows. And when you look back at the history, we celebrated the 50-year anniversary of the property back in 2019. And, looking back at the entertainers that performed in the International Theater, we were digging through archives and we found this list that listed the entertainment schedule from July 1969 all the way through August of 1988. And it's some of the top performers from around the world. Obviously you have Elvis Presley and Barbra Streisand, Liberace, Tom Jones, Bobby Darin, Johnny Cash, Ike and Tina Turner, Anne Margaret, just incredible. And then now to have Barry Manilow in September will surpass Elvis's record number of shows. We just announced Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons and Kool and the Gang doing residencies here. So it's an exciting time, and the history, is great. And it's not just the entertainers, but our team members. We've got more than 60 team members who've worked here on property 40 years or more, including several who've been here 50 years, and their stories are incredible. So, and all those things combine to make the place really special.
Got it. Rob, you're a frequent visitor to Las Vegas. Do you have any questions for Gordon? I'm sure you have many thoughts.
Right now I'm in such a business acceleration mode that, when I hear Gordon speak, I hear not 2 days are the same in 5 years. I hear systems and processes, SOPs, standard operating procedures. It's such a giant thing for me to think of what he deals with on a daily basis. My question, Gordon, let me just start here, is What are your habits and rituals on a daily basis that get you into peak state to be able to handle things that come both predictably and unpredictably? And how are you able to kind of take all that information and systematize it in a way where you can rinse and repeat the next day? Because I'm hearing big stuff here.
Yeah, well, it's really a team effort here, because there's nearly 3,000 rooms, 225,000 square feet of convention space, restaurants, the facilities, and it's a building that's now 54 years old. So there's constant renovations being done. I think maybe to oversimplify it, but communication is what works best for me to stay on top of things. Making sure that I'm talking to team members and really the operations from every level. So you kind of hear from everybody what's going on. I like to talk to guests when we have convention groups coming in, get a feel for those groups, just so I can stay on top of everything that's happening. And then also being involved in knowing what's going on in the community. I forgot to mention one of the biggest things right now is the boring company, the boring machine is now in the front of our property as it came through a week ago, and we'll be the next station of the Vegas Loop
which is Elon Musk's company, of course.
Yes, yeah. So there's a very large drilling machine that's propped up, getting ready to be moved back to the site over the convention center to drill the second tunnel. So those things are going on. We've got an outdoor 5 million light immersive experience in one of our lots. But really, not to oversimplify it, it's really communicating and making sure that you're on top of everything that's going on, because it never sleeps.
Yeah.
We came to that realization with the pandemic on March 18th in 2020, when we had to close our doors for the first time. And people don't think about this, but it was the first time in 51 years we were closed. We weren't even sure how to lock the doors. We had to do a lot of planning in a very short time, which I'm sure you would appreciate that kind of logistics.
What is life like for you, like outside of that office? Like, do you ever have any downtime? What does it look like as far as how do you detach? Like, how do you create those silos, if at all, or is it just this is you? You're there every day, and it's 24/7, and you get a nap in between, kind of thing. Like, what does that look like?
Well, I'm here a lot, but and I look at it as, some people say, "Oh my gosh, you have to be there so much," and I kind of look at it that I get to be here so much. But yeah, I'll get some days and some downtime. I love, I've been in Vegas now 8 years. Love time at home. I've got 3 dogs. Floating in the pool is always a great thing. I love sports. You can probably tell by the background, I'm a Syracuse alum, so I love college sports. But what's happening here in Las Vegas with this in the sports world is just
amazing.
Getting time with friends, but we're very lucky in the fact that we get to meet so many people and have so many interesting people that come through the property, or are entertainers and all of that. So it's it's very cliche, but it's definitely a labor of love. But I find downtime, and I hit the gym every day about 6 a.m. before I come in. That helps a lot.
So it's your ritual. Where are you originally from? Like, where did this all start for you?
No surprise, Syracuse, New York. And started there in the newspapers. I worked at the newspapers there for about 15 years. Moved my way up, and then moved around. Went to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia newspapers, San Francisco at the San Francisco Chronicle, then to LA for a few years. Then I joined American City Business Journals back in San Francisco, was a publisher of their business journal in Seattle, and then came here to join Greenspun Media. And then 3 years later, I was lucky enough to be a part of the Westgate team.
Now, how that transition from all the stuff you had done prior to Westgate, was that like I'm assuming it was a major leap forward, an opportunity of a lifetime kind of thing? Am I looking at it the right way, or?
You mean every one of the moves?
Yeah, to this move, that when you had the last move right into this move, was that like a major leap forward?
They all were. I mean, it was when to come to Vegas, I was able to come in as a group publisher and be a part of everything that was going on at Greenspun, which is fantastic. And then to be able to come here to Westgate, Las Vegas, joined in 2018, so just before our 50th anniversary celebration. and being a part of bringing the public relations and community affairs kind of in-house. It's been great. And it's really, when you're in the media on the side I was on, it's great because you get the benefit of having an automatic connection with the community. And that's really been here. It's been great to be able to work. Las Vegas, when I left Seattle, people were like, why Las Vegas? And the perception outside of the market, hopefully we can continue to change that, because this is one of the most giving communities I've ever lived in. Friendly community. There's so many incredible nonprofits and civic organizations that are doing amazing work. And then just to be a part of this industry that, the entertainment capital, now sports capital of the world, it's
amazing.
Phenomenal.
And did you play sports growing up? Were you a specific sport?
Let's just say I participated. I never really made any teams, but I love sports and would play a lot of different.
Had to be excited when Syracuse won it, back in, I forget what year it was, with
2003.
That's been a great time.
Yeah,
it's been a great redemption from the Indiana loss.
Yeah,
in, 87.
It was. Yeah. Sadly, I was at Final Fours. I wasn't able to go to that one, but
wow.
And I have a few photos of Carmelo up on the wall here. So.
It's great. Chris, back to you, brother.
Gordon, why don't you tell our audience about the demographics that visit the Westgate on a daily basis?
It's when people ask that, and someone was talking about that the other day, it's really quite varied. I mean, it's hard to say that you have something for everybody. We really do. But if someone's going to be looking to stay at, a place like the Wynn or Aria, we do have luxury accommodations. So we have something for everybody. But the clientele varies so much because the property is so varied. And when you have different groups coming, so, we see on the weekends a lot of youth sports. So you've got families, you've got, whether it's youth basketball, soccer, those types of things. In another week and a half, we're going to have the American Pool Players Association tournament, and our convention space will be consumed with over 300 billiard tables. There's a clientele that come for the pool players that are there for that. When you've got big conventions like CES or SEMA, they each bring a clientele. The week of August 18th through August 26th, we have all three of the Mrs. America pageants coming in. Different audience group there. It just is so varied. When Manilo's here, Manilow will be here this weekend, and there are people that come from all over the world to see that show. Then you've got your Superbook at biggest times and big sports times of the year. There's a clientele there, so it's really hard to put a specific demographic. And so what our goal is to provide the best possible guest experience for whatever you're looking for. And that's going to be whether you're here as a convention guest, leisure guest, you're here to attend a show, or you're just coming in to gamble, go to one of our restaurants, or see a show. We want to make sure that we're providing that best experience. And the challenge always is that the best experience is defined differently for every person that walks through our doors.
That's right.
There's no denying that. And before we get to the Las Vegas sports scene, going back to Syracuse, of course, we've had on former Miami Dolphins Super Bowl champion of the 1972 undefeated team, Larry Zonka, who also went to Syracuse.
Yeah.
And of course, speaking of Syracuse, of course, the great Jim Brown just recently passed away. So a lot of great connections in the sports community. So let me ask you, how do you think that go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Gordon.
No, go ahead. Finish your question.
So my point is,
I was going to say I had the opportunity to meet them when I was.
Wow. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's get back to you. You were breaking up a little bit.
So as I was saying, moving forward from that, how has the Westgate changed since the professional sports boom has grown in Las Vegas?
It's hard to say we changed. As everybody's getting into sports betting and people are whether they're renovating or they're doing more focus on their sports books. I like to remind people that the Superbook actually opened. The Las Vegas Hilton did that back in 1986. So I like to say they had a vision for what would happen. Now, if you come into the Superbook, and I know, Chris, you've been in there, there's a theme, some kind of a motif with horse racing, because back when we opened, 90% of sports betting was on horse racing. And so we still kind of had that history. So I think it's just we've built on the tradition of catering to sports and sports betting that's always been here. We've done some renovations. We've got over 4,200 square feet of high density digital screens. We have, on football Sundays, a lot of people don't realize this, for NFL football, we have something called Football Central, and we open the International Theater and have 1,500 seats in a smoke-free environment for people to watch NFL football all day on Sunday. And now the Superbook brand is expanding into other states for sports betting in those areas. So, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but it's, it's always been an important part of the mix here, and it will continue to be. And we just launched our latest super contest, and, everybody is doing some form of the super contest where it's betting on the season-long NFL handicapping. And that started at the Westgate, the Superbook at Westgate, Las Vegas, a number of years ago. So we just want to continue to enhance what we do and innovate.
Rob, I'm going to throw it back to you. Any other questions for Gordon?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here and I'm just amazed at how the sports book and that whole industry just explodes.
Yeah. Year
over year than the year before. You just said something real powerful. You talked about innovation, right? So one of the things that I'm always trying to do I have a nice little lemonade stand, and it's how do we innovate? How do we provide more value than our competition? So, we could be able to create leverage with our clients by building rapport, and through that creating a alternative strategy. Is there and I'm just curious, I'm just thinking about the level of competition in Vegas and what's happening. Is there certain type of groups within your system that sit down and just think of innovative things all day long? And what does that look like, and how do they present it to you guys?
We pretty much, everybody does that. Our president and general manager, Cami Christensen, she's been here on property since 2001. She started at the front desk as an assistant hotel manager, has worked her way up to the president GM.
That's impressive.
So it really is. And she's worked in every different department. And so she's really familiar with everything. And, the team members know her, they love her, they respect her. And, she kind of leads that where, it's not just the executive team that gets together and comes up with ideas, or the operations team. We take feedback from guests and team members. A perfect example, and this might seem a little bit small, but a perfect example was, one of the things we're known for here are our themed suites. Kind of goes back to the international days where they had different national themes for different floors. And so we've had a number of theme suites, and we opened up to team members. We had a contest. Give us your best ideas for what new theme suites we should create as we're going to refresh and renovate. And the Christmas suite was one of the ideas. We give them a prize, and we've launched it. And I have to tell you, I just did I've done interviews. I've got a TV segment coming up in there next Tuesday. It was a great idea, and we'll be doing another suite that we'll be launching soon that also came from team members. So, I think the best way to do that is, yes, you have to have a committee that can actually execute on the ideas and have those teams in place. And, we always put together a group that will get that done. But it's also just, listen to your team members, listen to your guests, and, keep an eye on what everybody else is doing. You can get great ideas. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Chris, I'm honored to be on with Gordon. Thank you so much for this opportunity, brother. Gordon, blown away. And when I come to Vegas, I'd love to be able to come check out. I typically stay at one place, but Chris has been opening me up to a whole new world.
Yeah, you got to come over. And, we didn't even talk about our cabaret shows. Chris was just here for Soul of Motown celebrated their 500th show in the Motown cabaret. And we've got the only female headlining magician in Jen Kramer. And don't even get me started on the restaurants. So when you come to town, you get connected and come on over and we'll get together.
I will. Yep. Thank you.
We absolutely will do it, Gordon. So just in closing, I just want to ask you, what else is coming up at the Westgate? Anything else you want to add?
There's a lot of things coming up. We got, I don't know if you're familiar, we started a new, speaking of Elvis, we started something new called My Brother Elvis. Elvis Presley's stepbrother, David Stanley, is here, and it's a once-a-month experience. I do a tour of a backstage tour of the International Theater. It's only for about 32 people. They come on stage. We do an interview with David Stanley. They can do photographs. It's really a great way for Elvis fans to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look. We've got Kool and the Gang and Frankie Valli both kicking off their new residencies in October. Barry Manilow is going to surpass Elvis Presley's record number of performances, and that's going to be a celebration of his legacy and Elvis's legacy, and there's going to be a nonprofit component to that. And then obviously with football season. So there's a lot of great things coming up. We're really excited.
No doubt about that. So for Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino's Vice President of Public and Community Relations, Gordon Prouty, and CYInterview sponsor, Rob Gill, I'm Chris Yandick. Thank you guys for being on CYInterview today. Thank you for watching today's CYInterview segment from Las Vegas. Please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button to be updated on all future CYInterview content from Las Vegas and beyond.